Hello, wizards. It is Dev, the double coated, because I'm wearing two coats. It's really cold. It's day 146, and it's Monday morning, everybody. Hope you're having a good week this holiday season as you buy stuff. I don't know what you're doing. You're probably just at work. We all got to work, so let's I go to work now for you. It's Tangle Trove Kelp is our first card of the day. Kelp is 7 mana. This is originally printed in Murders at Karlov Manor Commander, and I have never seen it in my life. So 7 mana, 5 and 2 blue for a 6/6 artifact creature clue plant with ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, other clues you control become 6/6 plant creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn. And of course, since this is a clue, you can pay 2, sack, and draw a card. I was wrong. I have seen this card. I remember this, actually, because when I was looking over Murders of Karlov Manor Commander, just briefly looking at, like, what are the best cards in this? I remember my eye landing on this a few times because this is actually a pretty good win condition for clue decks in Commander. I think this is a fun way to go about things, you know? Like, what am I going to do with all these, like, little diddly clues that I got sitting around, you know, like 8 clues from different sources? This is pretty good. Why don't you put 1,000,000 power on the table every combat step? Seems all right. So I do like this. I think it's a little bit bloated. It's kind of expensive. And the Ward 2 is good, but how much is Ward 2 really doing on a 7 drop? Right. So I have my doubts and reservations. But again, I think if you're making clues, it's a fun, like, one of your win conditions, you know, not the only one, but one of them. And like maybe you're reanimated and you know, a bunch of clues swing in. They never saw it coming. Who knows? But fun is mostly what this is. I don't know if it's actually good, so I'm going to give it a 4.5. I think in the context of clue decks, it's fun. But next is Phantasmal Form from Modern Horizons. This is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for an instant until end of turn. Up to 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 3/3, gain flying, and become blue illusions in addition to their other colors and types. You also get to draw a card. So 2 guys become 3/3s with flying, and you draw a card. It's 3 mana. This is not great. I think it's supposed to be some form of combat trick, but if it didn't cantrip, it'd be pretty awful. But considering it draws the card, it really becomes a lot better now, you know? It's like cycling and do a thing, kind of. So I'll give this a 3.7. And again, if it didn't cycle, it'd be like a 2. But It cantrips are good typically, so I'll take it. We'll move on to Instill Energy, baby. Instill Energy. This is from the old times. This is originally printed in Alpha. This is 1 green mana for an aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature can attack as though it had haste. You can also untap the creature once per turn during your turn. So, kind of cute. Kind of very, very cute. This... Okay, so note that it says can attack as though it had haste. You may untap target creature both during your the old one says you may untap target creature both during your untap phase and 1 additional time during your turn. Target creature may also attack the turn it comes into play. What this does not give the creature the ability to do is tap for an activated ability the turn it comes into play. And I was for a long time lied to about this card. Mostly because of the old wording here. You know, the new wording makes it a little bit more, clear here. But I had friends back in the day that basically said, you know, this allows the creature to use its activated ability as well as attack the turn it comes into play. And people would go like this, and then what's its name? Like Leyline Druid, the 3 mana guy that lets you untap a land. And they would like... they would like play Leyline Druid, put this on Leyline Druid, and then use Leyline Druid that turn to untap a land, and then use Instill Energy to untap Leyline Druid and untap another land and do more stuff. It was like nuts, dude. And like you can still do that with Instill Energy. You just can't do it the same turn Leyline Druid comes into play. But Instill Energy and Leyline Druid were like this. They were like this, son. But so were, Instill Energy and Lana War Elves. But there was an awful lot of confusion back in the day about like, Instill Energy on turn 2, double Lana War Elf activations on turn 2. You know, it's pretty nasty, but you can't. It turns out you cannot do that. But this is still worth some money because being able to, untap a creature twice in the same turn can lead to pseudo infinite combos and sometimes even infinite combos, even though you can only untap it one time. Sometimes that's all you need to activate a combo. But apart from that, just anything with a good activated ability, being able to untap it anytime you want is crazy. It's so crazy. You can also just give the creature pseudo vigilance for effectively 1 green mana. Like, it is a very good rate. And back in the day, we also played this in like Verdurn Enchantress decks to draw cards for just a single green mana. This card has a lot of little spots that it belongs in Magic history, especially the long, long ago Magic history. But as you can tell, it's still, fetching some price. 4th edition over $1, revised edition over $1, unlimited edition I think is actually a steal at under $5, but still approaching $5. And then you hit beta and it's suddenly $80 to get a copy of this card. So I think it's an interesting call for commander decks depending on what your activated abilities look like. So keep it in mind. I'll give the card a okay, so hear me out, guys. First thing I'm going to do is ask the audience for the third card of the day. But I'm going to ask the audience. I want to know what you think Instill Energy is worth score-wise. And I've given you long enough now that I think you could have gone down to the comments section and just like posted real quick. So I don't want to spoil your score with my score. Although, I just said the other day why I typically ask the audience is I anticipate I'm going to think the card is better than the audience does. I've lived through this card, and just thinking of all the busted activated abilities we have access to now in the present, in Magic, in the future, basically. Instill Energy, it seems like an even better card than it used to be. So I'm going to give this card a 6.2. And you are on the other side of a phone or computer screen, and you can't do anything about it. This card is busted. There's a reason it really doesn't see any print anymore, is because it is very good. This is a very good Magic card. So I'm sticking with 6.2. I'm hoping some of you rated it higher because I'd like to be honest with you. But we'll move on to Caves of Koilos. Have we done Painlands? I feel like we haven't actually done Painlands, which is weird. But I have to give Painlands an 8. These are some of the best dual lands ever printed. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to give them an 8.5. Painlands are just generally extremely good. Incredibly good, actually. There's no especially in Commander, dude. Like twice the life you normally have. Who cares? So, yeah, I feel like these, if you don't have like the money for original duels, and like who does, you just don't feel like proxying them, or your group doesn't like proxy, whatever it is, then like most of the time, these Painlands are like the cheapest way you can get like an untapped dual land, right? So not always. There's other examples, but Painlands, man, you don't mess with these. These are fantastic. So yeah, 8.5, dude. 100% serious. Mogcatcher from Nemesis is up next with art by Pete Venters, man. Our boy Pete. 4 mana, 2 and 2 red for a 2/2 mercenary goblin. That's human mercenary. My fault. You can pay 3 and tap it to search your library for a goblin. Put that card into play. Then shuffle your library. Not into your hand. You're not putting the card in your hand. You're putting any goblin in your whole deck into play with this. Crazy. pretty nuts in Commander. This card is $10 from Nemesis, and then $13 from the list because it's technically more scarce from the list. But like, still, get the Nemesis one. $10 is kind of a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's so much. But at the same time, I have a cat swiping at something down here. I'm trying to figure that out. But anyway, at the same time, man, that's well worth it. It's well worth the one of in your Commander Goblins deck, So I want to go get my Krenko right now. I want to get my Krenko on and start cranking. Let's crank it up. This is Mogcatcher's like a 6.6, dude. Maybe I'm just being super generous this week, but like I really feel like go get any goblin and throw it into play. Are you sure? Play? Sure. Yes. That's insane. So we'll move on to Spark Mage from Odyssey with Paolo Parente art. I love Paolo Parente. This is a red mana for a 1/1 dwarf wizard. When Spark Mage deals combat damage to a player, you may have Spark Mage deal 1 damage to target creature that player controls. So if they have a guy, why didn't they just block it? You know what I mean? If it was able to deal combat damage to them and also deal damage to a creature after dealing combat damage, you'd think they just block it. Maybe the guy's tapped or it can't block or whatever. This card's $3. This card is somehow $3 for an uncommon from Odyssey. This does something, doesn't it? Has to. This got to do something. All right, so you're Dwarf Wizard. You're a 1-drop Dwarf, 1-drop Wizard. A damage to a creature that player controls. So? Somebody explain this to me in the comments section. I want to go on like a Google search odyssey right now, figuring out why Spark Mage is good. I've heard of it, but I guess I never really read the card before. I don't remember this. I played a little bit during Odyssey, but I was like partially on break during like, what is it? Odyssey, Judgment, Torment, Apocalypse, like that whole stretch. So, again, I've heard of you, but I don't know why you're $3. Maybe it's just because like you're only printed in this one set ever. But like, there's plenty of cards that were only ever printed in Odyssey. $3, you know. Just judging this on what I can tell in a vacuum, I'm gonna give the card like a 3. You know, like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, I guess. But it's not like Orcish Bowmasters. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not that card. So I'm gonna stick with the 3 here and maybe look foolish. Like maybe this card did something I just don't remember. But doesn't look great to me, dog. That's all I'm gonna say for now. Forge Anew is up next from Tales of Middle-earth. This is 3 mana. Can I get a normal looking? No. This is 3 mana, 2 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your yard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may equip abilities anytime. You could cast an instant. You could activate it. You can equip stuff. Anytime you can cast an instant. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first equip ability you activate during each of your turns. Colossus Hammer, baby. Can I put the hammer on something? That seems okay, man. I have read this card before, too. I think I pointed it out in one of the spoiler videos one time. Because, you know, sometimes I'll point out, like, a card I really like, or 3 or 4 or 5 of them, from the Commander product in some spoiler videos. Especially, like, when it's kind of slow, weekend day, there's not a whole lot of new stuff to talk about for Standard. I'll bring in a Commander, too, you know, Commander card or 2. And I remember highlighting this at some point. It is apparently fetching some money in Commander. This is like $3.65 to buy. It's like $3 for the cheapest version of it, which I guess is this borderless one. But there's also another borderless one that's $5. I don't understand Magic cards. If you want the promo, that's like $4 and it's foil. It's cute. But either way, this is a pretty stacked card. Not just for equipment decks, but like, you know, if you happen to have a couple of good equipments in your decks, it's pretty good. Like, you know, you got Swiftfoot boots, then so long as it's your turn, you can equip the boots to anything at instant speed if they try to, like, get crazy and target one of your dudes with a removal spell. So, I don't know. That's all pretty decent. And, again, it's got tricks like Colossus Hammer and other, like, expensive to-equip equipments. So, yeah, man. Good week, I think, so far. I'm going to give Forge Anew a 5.8. Pretty narrow, but like incredibly useful when it's popping off, dude. Very good card. Next is Bienachora. What actually is this? Is this Well-Wisher? Is this actually? Yes, it is Well-Wisher. This is 2 mana, 1 on a green for a 1/1 elf. You can tap it to gain a life for each elf in play. Note that it doesn't say each elf you control. It's each elf in play, which is a very important distinction some of the time. I have personally, in a real game of Magic with paper cards, if you can imagine doing that with your life, I have seen Well-Wisher gain over 100 life, triple-digit life, because both players were playing. It was a 2-player game. They were both playing elves. And it got to the point where somebody had played, I can't remember the name of it, but a thing that gives you like a 1/1 elf for each elf you control. And then the next turn, the other player Well-Wisher, and it was like 108 life. Like, it was something crazy. We had to figure it up. There were like multiple people trying to figure it all out. And it was fun times. Well-Wisher is a card that goes in every single Elves Commander deck. Do not leave home without it. Do not cut Well-Wisher. I promise you. Don't do it. Don't stop it. Stop it. Don't cut Well-Wisher. I've heard people talk about doing it. How come? You're dumb. Don't cut Well-Wisher is all I'm saying. I love this card, dude. I really do. Get your copy. It's only like $1 to pick up in multiple versions. And even the original Onslaught one's like $1 now. It's like $1.12. That's so good. I don't have an original Well-Wisher. So I'm going to put buy Well-Wisher. We got one for our buy list, everybody. Buy Well-Wisher. It is $1.15, we'll call it. That's not bad. I'm going to give Well-Wisher, again, these creatures like this we always rate in the context of the deck they go into. So keep that in mind. In a vacuum, Well-Wisher would get like a much lower score, but since, this is an Elves card and you're playing it in Elves, is it good in Elves? Freaking yes. This card is like a 6.5. And the only reason it's not higher is because all it's doing is gaining life, which is like not the worst thing you can do in a game of Magic, but like name something worse you can do, right? You can draw cards, you can remove creatures, you can play to the creatures to the board, in terms of like the stuff that each color does, I've always felt like gaining life is one of the least significant things. It doesn't advance your board state. It doesn't help you win, right? But that said, the amount of life that Well-Wisher can gain is truly, truly ludicrous. Remember when we looked at Instill Energy? Imagine Instill Energy on a Well-Wisher and gain yourself 200 life a turn. I don't know, man. It's a good card. 6.5 though, which is good. But we'll move on to Voracious Great Shark. I love this guy. Nobody else seems to really care, but I love this guy, man. Jaws is 5 mana, 3 and 2 blue for a 5/4 shark with flash. When he enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. There's even a Jaws reference in the flavor text, but yeah, the flavor here is that he's killing a creature or he's eating a boat. That's the artifact. He's eating a boat or a person as they even try to enter the water. They dip their toe in the water by entering the battlefield, by being put on the stack, by just being put on the stack. And he jumps out of the water. It's just great flavor. I love the design of this card. I think it does cost like a smidge too much mana, and they could have come down on the power toughness a little bit to facilitate maybe a 4-drop creature that does this rather than a 5. It'd be a little bit more playable. But if you've never resolved a Voracious Great Shark, you don't understand. I think I'm the guy that doesn't even like counterspells like as a mechanic, right? But often you're countering your opponent's like 4, 5, 6 drop creature or their 4, 5, 6 turn creature, right? So you're taking away one of the best plays in their deck, and you're getting a 5/4 on their turn. You get to like untap immediately. It's just a really swingy play in 1v1s. I'm not sure it's as good in Commander, but I'm still going to give the card the honorary 5 of the day. I've talked myself into it. I love this card. We can play it in Standard again now too, and it didn't see a whole lot of play last time it was in Standard. Me and to a much greater extent CGB made this card sort of see some relevance. He especially played a lot of this card on the arena on YouTube. But I've got some love for it too. It never did much in Standard last time, and it probably won't do much in Standard this time either, even though it's in Foundations. It's got 5 years to work. I don't see it doing a whole lot, and that's a shame because this is a pretty well-designed and brutal Magic card when played correctly. So, keep your eye peeled for it is all I'm saying. It's good. But last card of the day is Nylea, Keen Eye. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 5/6 legendary enchantment god with indestructible. As long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea is not a creature. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Pay 2 and a green to reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, put it in your yard if you want to. You can also just put it right back on top. It's fine. But yeah, a 4 mana 5/6 indestructible. Very easy to get to your devotion cranked up to 5 in mono green. And then obviously the creatures, the cost reduction is ridiculous. It's a card draw engine in your Pioneer deck, like I believe last I saw the mono green Pioneer, the green devotion deck had cut this down to a 1 of. At one point it had been a 3 of. And I think some versions may not even play it anymore, but this still, saw some relevance in Pioneer. It saw some relevance in Standard mono green devotion for a while there. Just especially back then. It wasn't that long ago. It was like 10 years ago. But in the context of power creep, I actually don't think that's that long ago. A lot of our power creep happened, 15 years ago. I think I could do a whole video about that. It's not like power creep isn't still happening. It is. But again, I think it's slowed significantly. But back then, a 4 mana 5/6. Crazy. And again, very easy to get it online. I'm going to give Nylea a 6.1. I think this is still a fantastic Magic card and a decent commander or include in your mono green big guys deck. Again, you're casting creature spells. You want the ramp. You want the card draw, right? You want a big guy. And this just kind of does everything for you. There's a reason it's still like $5-6 to get your hands on one of these. So Great card to end the day. Again, this week is shaping up between Sunday and Monday to be fantastic. We'll see how we screw it up tomorrow, guys. I love you. Bye.